took you a long time to get this film made, and you spent a lot of your life on this project. What is it that obsesses you so much about Miles Davis? What do you find so compelling about him that you can spend so much of your life devoted to that?
Well, I think, more of it was just sort of like the challenge to get it done. I mean, I've been a fan of his music since I was 10 years old, and I've, listened to his music pretty consistently throughout my whole life, and it's always something that's in heavy rotation. It's something that my kids grew up listening to, so it's something that's near and dear to me. But the project itself, a lot of times it just feels like a challenge that you don't want to let go, because there's value there. There's savale. There's something there that's worth telling. So when you find stories like that, they're few and far between. You don't want to just let them go because people keep saying no to you. And I guess as an actor, you kind of get used to 1,000 no's before you get a yes anyway. So it was just something that it was important to the family. It was important to me. And as I said, there was a reason to keep going, so I did.
What do you think made him so special as an artist? I mean, what do you think his legacy is as a musician?
I think if people look at the totality of what he did as a musician and as an artist, not only a musical artist but also a visual artist. He was a painter that and kind of self-taught. That he had, I guess, which is one of the best aspects of a true artist, which is a real restlessness and a desire to never be finished and never sat back and felt like he'd done it. He would complete something and really attack it and throw everything into it, and then he's on to the next thing. And in some ways to his detriment, because people love to put us in boxes and be able to close the parentheses around us and say this is what you are, so that they can easily digest you and put you in a bin in the record store and feel comfortable about how they talk about you and have a sound bite. But he eschewed all that. He was impossible to define in that way, and I think that's what made him the great artist that he was, is his ability to continually reinvent himself and find new ways to express himself.
And were you anxious at all doing this film and being both doing it as your directorial debut, feature film debut, and acting, being the lead in it?
Only completely. Only every moment, every second on set. Yeah, it was very daunting, and it's something that I tried to give away, along the way many times. And, I've told people if the whole project had fallen apart 4 or 5 years ago, a part of me would have been relieved. As much as disappointed, because it was a huge undertaking. But ultimately, like I said, when we looked at it, it was better to do it in this way than not to do it at all. So if that's what it took, this is what it took.
Well, then maybe get a little bit political. The Oscars are just over a week away. You've been very outspoken in this diversity debate. What do you hope comes out of the Oscars next week? What would you like to see?
About the Oscars themselves, it's sort of, to me, it's not that relevant about what we're handing out, the accolades. I mean, most actors that I know and most artists that I know in every part of the storytelling aspect, all of the keys, understand that that's not really what it's about, and that if you're creating a project and if you've gone into it with sort of the cynical idea that this is going to be Oscar bait, it kind of smells like that. I mean, you have to tell stories and do these things because you're motivated by them and they move you, and it's stuff that you can't let go, and it keeps you up at night, not because you think somebody's going to hand you a statue at the end of the day. There are definitely financial components to this, and there are business implications that this is about, but the ceremony itself is kind of can be embarrassing, actually, and you always see when there's something that's really cataclysmic that happens in the world, the stark distance between people celebrating themselves and what it's really about. So to me, if we're going to talk about where it needs to be affected, it's way before we get to the Oscars. It's in the closed doors of studios, and it's about access, and it's about biases and things that really affect us, not about who's getting a statue.